Welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara. I'm here to welcome you into the world of orgasmic living by hosting experts to discuss orgasmic topics such as nutrition, spirituality, personal development, sexuality, and much more. Here, we will offer lifestyle lessons that can help you lead a fulfilling, joyous, and orgasmic lifestyle. I'm your guide, Venus O'Hara. Welcome to episode 71 of the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with Venus O'Hara. In this new moon episode, we'll be discussing guidance. We'll be speaking with Quenton Stroud, also known as the Master Oracle. He is a celebrity psychic and a spiritual counselor. I also review the book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, Contacting the Power of the Wild Woman by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. The episode ends with a guided meditation with affirmations for guidance. But first, let me share with you my opinion and experience with guidance and intuition. Where do you turn for guidance when you need some direction? That's the topic of today's episode. I wanted to talk about that because today's guest is a celebrity psychic, and it can be very alluring to consult a psychic. It can be a lot of fun as well, almost a little bit addictive. Anyway, the first time I had a psychic reading on this podcast was maybe in July 2022. And that was with Colby Rebel. And she gave me a reading during our interview. And I kind of had the reading, it was fun. And then I let go of it. And then months or maybe a year after, I went back and listened to it again. And I couldn't believe how everything she said had come true for me. And it blew my mind. Let's just say that. So I wanted to do the same thing with our guest today, Quenton Stroud. However, when he gave me the reading, it seemed that he was touching on topics that were incredibly personal to do with family and relationships. So I've decided not to share that part of our exchange purely because it goes into territories that I'm not quite comfortable sharing on here. But I will say that everything he said has more or less happened, and some of it is still not supposed to be in this time frame. But we spoke in December, and now it's March, so I'm kind of like, wow. Yeah, I have to listen back to the whole reading again, but it's kind of mind-blowing how these things happen, if you believe in them, of course. But going back to guidance, I think when we need guidance in life, often we have the answers within. I really believe that. And I think sometimes these exterior people or things can help us or can be an extension of our own intuition or inner knowing. I think the first port of call for me when I need guidance is definitely trusted friends. Sometimes just speaking to a friend, even if they're not great at offering advice, but if they are a listener, then sometimes when you're speaking about your problem, you can gain clarity just from observing, or maybe just subconsciously or consciously, which parts of the problem are most uncomfortable for you, or what are the things that you need to do. And sometimes you need to hear yourself say these things out loud, and then you kind of know, and then someone nods their head, and then you feel reassured or validated and heard, which is really, really important. I also like to do tarot every morning. If you follow me on Instagram, I share my card of the day. I have the Thoth deck, which is from Aleister Crowley. And I love this deck. It's my second tarot deck. I think people say you have to get your first one as a gift. And I got my first one as a gift, which was nice. And I had them for many years before I started using them. I used to be a little bit afraid. Sometimes I would not like the cards. I remember once I did this reading for myself of past, present, future. And for the future card, I got the moon. I looked it up. I was like, oh, I didn't like that. So I did it again. The moon came out 3 times and I was like, wow, It's a sign. I think sometimes we like to find, I don't know about you, but I like to find meaning in everything and think of life as being something that's all connected, that there are no coincidences. That's how I like to see life anyway. Another thing I like to use for guidance is crystals. I love crystals. I think I have my first crystal in 2017, as as my profession for the most part is a sex toy designer and reviewer, and I received a rose quartz dildo. I'm not really into, or I don't like the idea of using crystals as sex toys or yoni eggs. But I had this crystal and this rose quartz, and I didn't masturbate with it, but I meditated with it. And it was interesting that it kind of helped me to become more receptive to love, because rose quartz is loving energy, supposedly. And I did find that it kind of made me think of love and attract love. And it wasn't actually romantic love, but it was more family love, friend love, and different types of love in my life. And I did feel that loving effect. And I was so inspired by it that I started to get more crystals as well. I got an obsidian yoni egg, and because obsidian is for, is for many things, but one of the things it was good for, apparently, was for the root chakra, for financial stability. I remember I actually put it in my vagina, and I went to open a new bank account, yeah, just to try and get that financial stability into my life. And so I've used so over the years I've kind of had these crystal prescriptions. Let's say I want this, then I go to a crystal shop and I find that crystal that is associated with that desired outcome that I have, and I meditate with them. I have crystals around my desk, usually for the ones that are related to communication and money, because I am a communicator, and obviously you want to work for money. And then in my bedroom, I have more relaxing ones. I have rose quartz for love, and then some for sleep. And I also have ones for relationships, like for the masculine and the feminine. I have my moonstone, my sunstone, carnelian for sex, Shiva lingam for divine masculine. And then I have others around my house for protection, and those more highly energetic ones I don't have them in my bedroom because I don't want to be disturbed. But I do actually sleep recently with a meteorite. It's crazy because meteorites are very powerful, and I have these incredible dreams that are almost like, it's like I am entering these different worlds and I'm having these downloads. I'm in these kind of alternate realities. It's quite an experience. I often dream of friends, and they're very vivid. And then I tell my friends the day after, I dreamt this about you, blah blah blah. And a lot of the times they seem to coincide with things that are happening in their lives. So it's kind of interesting to know maybe if these are related to my crystals. And when I'm listening to, I'm using crystals, I'm also listening to binaural beats, which is music of different frequencies, that also different frequencies related to different desired outcomes. So it's all kind of related for me. So I do my meditation with a binaural beat, the crystal, and then sleep, and then I'm having these crazy dreams. And then other thing I use, which I find a lot of fun, is a pendulum. I remember I went on a pendulum course. It took me a long time to actually start using it, because I remember the woman who was giving the course said that, you have to use it in a kind of clean and tidy environment. And I'm quite messy, so I just thought, I can't tidy the house just to use my pendulum. But now I use it anyway, and it's kind of fun to, for example, to program it, first of all, asking show me my yes, show me my no, and then asking, is my name this, is my name that, just to check if it's correct, and then start asking questions, which I do that with friends as well. It's a lot of fun. And what else do I do? Yeah, so sometimes consulting a psychic or a healer can be a lot of fun. And when I've had friends who offer certain services and I am able to get a freebie or an exchange, I'm always very interested to find out what's happening. And it's interesting because I've had a few different experiences of these types of exchanges in the last few months. And these people who don't know each other and don't really know me or about my private life have told me very similar things, which I do find interesting. And it's that thing of saying, oh, how could they have known this? That's what encourages the trust, I think, in these techniques. We have to be very careful, because also at the end of a session, you can always feel that there's a question that you forgot to ask and you want to kind of repeat. But you have to be very aware of that, and maybe have your questions prepared, and not do these things too often, because you don't want to rely on someone else to tell you what you already know. I also think meditation is a great way to find the answers. Sometimes I look for meditations that are related to connecting to source or connecting with your intuition. And then sometimes these answers kind of appear in your mind. And I think that can be quite powerful. Then, of course, you can check with your tarot cards or check with your pendulum if that's the right thing, or even with friends. But at the end of the day, I think what we were looking for is peace and guidance, and peace from suffering, I guess. And I think that's why we seek these things. So I'm going to share with you my interview with our guest today, the celebrity psychic. It's going to be Quenton Stroud. It's going to be very interesting. So it's going to be a little bit in the middle of our interview, which I will have taken out because it's way too personal, but I can assure you that it has been very on the money, quite literally. Enjoy. Do you want to upgrade your life? If so, check out my free meditation, my Life Upgrade Meditation. This meditation is very powerful. It contains 100 very powerful affirmations that correspond to the 12 areas of life from the Wheel of Life. And those areas include things like money, professional career, friends, family, relationships, sexuality, personal development, contribution to society, home environment, and much more. If you're curious about this very powerful transformative meditation, then check out the link in the show notes. And if you haven't got the show notes at hand, then the link is bit.ly/life, capital LIFE, hyphen, capital UPGRADE, upgrade, hyphen, meditation with a capital M. The link is also in the show notes. So if you would like to upgrade your life, check out my free Life Upgrade Meditation. Now it's time for this episode's interview. We'll be speaking with Quenton Stroud, also known as the Master Oracle, a celebrity psychic and spiritual counselor. Quenton Stroud, welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you so much for taking part in the interview today. I'm really happy to have you here. When I read your profile, I was so excited to interview you. For those who are unfamiliar with your work, could you tell us what you do?
Yes, so I am a celebrity psychic, master oracle, and I have been doing this for 23 years now, and have been helping out people all over the world, well over 10,000 people now, with psychic readings, getting some insight, and perhaps even foresight into your situation, giving you answers that work.
I love it. So what inspired you to follow this path?
So back when I was about 8 years old, my great-grandmother, full-blooded Native American, realized that I had a bit of a gift. And so what she started doing was started cutting open fruit, and she would cut open fruit and she would have me read fruit. And she was like, tell me what you see. And so I would start reading fruit at 8 years old. She lived to be 98 years old, and she kind of trained me.
So is that I've never heard of that before. Is that like tea leaves or something? Does that exist, or did you create it?
I have no idea where that came from. I've never seen anybody else do it. So I have no idea where the fruit thing came from, but that's how we got started. And it was really interesting when I was young, because all I do is what I do at 8. I don't know. But since then, it just kind of grew and grew and grew there. And so I started doing it like kind of full on around 19 years old. And it's just been off to the races ever since.
Okay, because it must be really interesting when you have this gift, and then people who know you probably want to ask you questions all the time. But to turn it into a profession, was that difficult for you, or does it just seem very natural?
Uh, for me, it was very natural. For me, it was more like it was more kind of moving out of this workaday world and trying to find my career and find my way and what to major in college and the whole bit. And I just like I know what I'm good at and I know what works. And so for me, kind of going into the more let me do this full on and let people so into me from that perspective, that was more natural for me than going to, when I went to university, because I did go to university, but that felt very like, let me try to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Hmm.
And this felt more like, hey, I wake up and do this at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so tell us what you do. So what is a psychic reading? You do tarot. So tell us a list of things that you do.
Sure, sure. So basically, I start off with tarot, and I've been doing tarot for pretty much my entire career. But then they expanded, of course, into astrology, into numerology, into dice reading, where I do dice readings as well. And it just kind of continued to go on from there, dice bones, and pretty much anything that allows me to see patterns. I can say that.
Mm.
It's more about seeing different patterns and configurations, and those can share with me some insight into certain situations.
So you're always using a tool like the tarot cards, or do you have kind of like psychic downloads?
So
Without
this is
these
what my
tools.
best friend said.
Uh-huh.
This is what my best friend said. My best friend says is that my best friend has to literally set an appointment with his friend. And so he says, I need my friend now, not the oracle. And
Okay.
so and so for me, it's kind of like it's always happening. It's always there. It's always connected. And then I have to realize, wait, I have a secular life too. And so it kind of, as a Pisces, I'm a Pisces. And so as a Pisces, I tell people Pisces have the two fish, So they have 1 foot in the natural and 1 foot in the supernatural all the time.
So how has this
Yeah.
impacted your life for the better, for worse? I mean, it must be, I would imagine like people would be wanting to get free readings from you all the time when they find out what you do. Has it been, how does it influence you on a day to day? Does it help you kind of make decisions? I mean, how does it impact you?
Oh God, I wish. So I wish that was the case. For me personally, it impacts my life because when I'm out somewhere, like I was literally in Ace Hardware, and I was traveling, and this girl asked me, "Oh, so what do you do?" And I told her, I'm a psychic, and she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah," and she goes, "Tell me," and she kind of holds on her head. And so I kind of humor her and I laugh a little bit. And I grab her hand and I start seeing stuff and immediately just started going right into it and just, working with the lines, anything that showed the pattern, right? Working with the lines, I was able to kind of pull out a lot of stuff about her, the situation. And it was interesting. It was really interesting. So for me, it impacts my everyday when I allow it to. I guess is the answer to your question. It impacts it when I allow it to, but I sometimes have to be a little bit more vigilant about not letting it just kind of jump in my face. Uh, but all the time I'm getting downloads, insights. I was in a nightclub in Miami, and being in a nightclub in Miami, it was some stuff just started hitting me about this guy and his girlfriend, and it was just a lot. And I just started crying. I just bust out crying in the middle of the club at night. So that's the kind of way it goes.
Would that be like a strong sense of empathy then? So you're kind of bringing in other people's energy and you're feeling other people's situations in that.
Um, I don't call it empathy
Mm.
only because that has been like a very bad word for me
Oh, okay.
because it can be overwhelming. But but in that moment, it was like I was being more sympathetic to that situation because there was a lot of negative stuff happening in their relationship. But none of that was confirmed because I never talked to the girl or to the couple. But it's just kind of those moments where just like everyday moments, where it can like hit you and impact you and stuff like that. And so for me, that's where it kind of shows up. And I have to be careful to kind of have my own protections up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
To make
Oh
sure I'm
yeah.
not just like, yeah, I'm not getting kind of things out of the blue. As far as free readings and stuff like that, like those impromptu moments and stuff like that, I have no problem doing it. But most people who know me know when you come to the Oracle, you come with an offering. You come with an awareness of this is an energetic exchange, and
Mm.
we're going to make that energetic exchange in that moment. So it's been very good.
I would imagine it would really help with decision making. Like, for example, I used to work in real estate, and I remember going into certain apartments, and it wasn't about which is the nicest, but you could really feel energy in these places. Because I'm in Barcelona, so a lot of these buildings were, 400, 500 years old, and you could feel
Wow.
some terrible things have happened here. Like things that wouldn't say.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, I mean, or that would it impact you in that way of making decisions, or what thing to buy, or where to live, or where to go on holiday, that kind of thing? Would you kind of do you sense things like that?
Well, what I say to that is that I when I know it's right and when I know is I say when I know it's God, when I know it's spirit present, is when things started kind of happening almost like a domino effect. When things
Okay.
start happening very organically, very easily, very naturally. Abraham Hicks says when you're in the going downstream, when you're in the
Uh,
vortex, I can kind of feel that space. Um, in fact, right before this interview, I had to create the vortex moment because I was like, oh. And so I had to kind of create that vortex experience. But I would say in making decisions, yeah, I feel like I've made very, very good decisions in my life. And then there's times where I ignored my intuition and I made some poor decisions about life. So I think if we all, just kind of, let our conscience be our guide and listen to our intuition a little bit more, we'll probably make more positive decisions than not. But yeah, for that reason, I think now when I do sit down and I just pull some cards and I say, okay, I need to answer, and I just kind of lay it out, I pretty much get what I need to know those moments, and it's pretty clear. Like it's like this is the answer. But other times, just in life, I just kind of follow my own intuition, follow my conscience. Yeah.
okay, so it was, you just mentioned intuition. That's my next question, actually. You already foresaw that, maybe. So, what's the difference between intuition and psychic abilities?
Well, we all have intuition, right? We all have intuition. We have that thing that tells us something good, something not so good, whatever that the hair stand up on your arm or just kind of whatever. We all have that ability. Well, psychic is when it goes into like you're actually able to read mind, project thoughts, be able to kind of sit and see kind of what's going on in a person's energy field or the person's world. There's times when I've called my best friend and I've said, "Hey, what's going on?" And we talked a little bit, and I literally said, "Your soul cried out." Like that's like the reason why I needed to talk to you because your soul cried out. These kinds of things happen when I'm talking to a client, and I'll say literally like conversation that they just had the day of or the night before with their partners or whatever, and I'll just start talking about we just talked about that, that kind of thing. So that's where the psychic kind of stuff kind of picks in when you kind of get a little bit more specific to where the person is. Intuition, I believe, is more for self, right?
Okay.
Intuition is more for like, okay, let me follow my own intuition, where you actually are working with somebody, helping somebody, tapping into what's going on with them. That's when you're actually being more about the other person and you're able to kind of get some insight and foresight about what's going on with them that might not have anything to do with you, but this is why I need to show up.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
As an example to that, just as a quick example, I was in a bookstore. This was in America. I was in a bookstore and I'm sitting there looking at the books that I wanted to purchase. I can't remember what it was now, but I'm looking at these books and this woman walks beside me and she's looking at the books too, just, random. And I turned to her and I looked down like this and I looked back up and I looked down again and I said, "I'm sorry. This is going to sound really weird, but the bottom half of your body is black. Like it's like a whole, but it looked like tar. That's all I could tell
um,
her. It looked like tar." And I was like, this is really weird for me because I've never seen that before. I said, it just looks like a whole bunch of like wet, gooey, black stuff or whatever. And she goes, okay. And so she starts talking to me. Turns out her husband was on a fishing boat. He was on a fishing boat. He was trying to catch a big fish. He slipped. His legs went up under like this the seat, and he broke both of his legs, fell in the water, and drowned. And she had been an absolute mess. In fact, she was there looking for some kind of self-help book to pull her out of her depression, to pull her out of whatever, whatever. And I couldn't help but notice a person walking around the street with just a regular outfit on. But to me, it looked like she was walking through mud or tar or whatever. It was just really, really weird. And so we got to talking, and I was able to kind of talk her through that experience, what happened, da da da. And at the end of the conversation, she started crying. She was smiling, laughing, crying. It was a really, really good exchange. And then that was the last I saw of her. But to me, in those moments when it's not about me,
Mm-hmm.
it was really all about her. And I had no idea why we had that kind of chance encounter, but that happening could have changed her life or saved her life. I don't know. But yeah, that's when I say, okay, I'm here on assignment. If you would watch some of my videos or whatever, I'll say, this is Stroud, the Master Oracle, here on assignment.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I'm clocked in.
Yeah, because I guess a lot of people who go to psychics, it's because they're in a place of need, or maybe also a vulnerable place. They're looking for answers. So that's my next question for you. So how can you spot a fake psychic? Because I know that I interviewed a psychic about a year and a half ago, and then as soon as we connected on Instagram, all these fake profiles of her were contacting me and telling me, I have this message for you and blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
I could spot that, but a lot of people who are quite vulnerable or not quite savvy about it, social media might not see that. Do you have any tips
Mm-hmm.
of help people not fall down those traps? Mm-hmm.
Sure. So that's a very good question. Wow, that's the first time anybody ever asked me
Mm-hmm.
that. So this is what I'll say to that. Typically, it's best if you reach out, right? It's best so let's say if you have a need or you have a question that needs to be answered, or something that's going on in your mind, or just been anxiety, worry, stress, whatever. It's typically best if you kind of find that connection, right? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear, kind of vibe. Um, it's best if you find that connection. The reason why is because you can kind of guide the conversation, or you can be in charge of who you let into your energy field. If somebody just randomly walks up to you at the mall or whatever, and approaches you with something, it's kind of best to kind of have your protections up a little bit, just so you can like screen the situation or screen the moment. I'll just say that. But if you control the narrative, it puts you in a power position, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I use. I let people come to me, and they come to me from that place. I'm not a ambulance chaser. I'm not a somebody passed away, and let's talk about that. Whatever. If it comes up, it comes up. But I believe that people should kind of have their own seeking out kind of moment. Let me seek what's really right for me. You wouldn't go. If a doctor wouldn't come to your house and say, "Hey, I'm a doctor. I'm here to cure you." You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't let
Yeah,
people
that's a good
necessarily
point.
in your house for that. That'd be kind of weird, right? You
Yeah.
would want to find a doctor that is for you, somebody who matches your vibe, somebody who can speak your language, somebody who might share certain commonalities with you. You want to find what that feels like and then move into that. That's, I think, a little bit safer.
Yeah, definitely. Also recommendations as well, I think would be.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
and if you have friends or whatever that maybe have refers you to somebody who would, that's where most of my business comes from, through referrals. If you have somebody who refers you to somebody and they want to speak to you from that perspective, that's totally fine too. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who wants to start developing their psychic abilities? Do you
Oh
think
wow.
everyone has it? Or is it potential to, or is it just like a gift? Do you think it's possible, or maybe what do you think? Is it something?
Again, I think everybody has that intuitive nature, and I think that intuitive nature can really speak loudly for many people. If you want to develop that more for yourself, I would definitely say start by listening to your own intuition. Start by being okay with what you feel and what you know. I think a lot of times people kind of second guess their intuition, or it could be in a relationship, it could be about a job or being in a certain space or whatever. Like, and I don't feel good being here, but we kind of force ourselves through it, kind of thing. I think just by listening to your own intuition, you're gonna probably be right 90% of the time. But if you want to develop that even more, I found that working with tools is a really good way of getting clarity. So you mentioned earlier about, so do I work with patterns? I work with tools, that kind of thing. I found that when I tell people like this, is for me, it's kind of like watching a movie, right? And if you're like 40 years old, I'm seeing 40 years of content and maybe even past lives. We'll talk about that later. But um, I see 40 plus years of content just right. And so working with the tarot, working with bones, working with the dice readings, working whatever, it gets us very focused to answer your question as you need to be answered, right? Like this is what I need to know from this situation. So if you want to dive into tools, if you want to look more into astrology, if you want to look more into other ways of understanding yourself and the universe, that's totally fine too. And that would help you kind of at least get a little bit more awareness about how to read the cards, read the stars, read the situation a little bit easier. Yeah.
I have a question for you about tarot because I'm getting into tarot. I've been doing tarot for like a year and a half. I do like an oracle reading, like one card a day, and I got the top deck. I just love that. I also practice sex magic. So I saw you do magic as well. So
Yes.
I'm actually writing a book now about sex magic. I've been doing it for 6 years. It's just changed my life.
Oh,
So it's
yes.
it's really powerful. So Mike, one of my questions about tarot because this is how I'm learning it. I just do one card a day and I kind of read this website where I can see what that means. So then I can start kind of because I'm not really advanced yet to do multi-card readings. But sometimes
Yeah.
I choose a card and I don't like it. So what do you do if can you just like put it away and choose the second one or what's the deal with if
So,
a card doesn't
no, I'm gonna
resonate?
tell you. I'm gonna tell you why I'm laughing. And so now, if something doesn't resonate with you because it just is totally out of left field and it doesn't make sense at all, like why am I seeing the three of coins, like three of pentacles? I don't know, right? What I usually tell people is this: whatever comes up comes out, right? Whatever comes up comes out. So if there's a reason for this card in your case, you just kind of just pull in cards a day just to kind of learn about it. But if you really had an insight, if you really had a question that you wanted to be answered, if you really had a burning thing or whatever comes up comes out, and it usually has some significance. It usually has some relevance to what you're going through. Now, catch this: even if you don't understand it, it has relevance. For example, I was doing a reading for a client and I told her to go get a tea kettle. I said, I'm seeing a tea kettle. You need to go get a tea. I said, do you have a tea kettle? She's like, no. I said, do you drink tea? She said, yeah, I get tea every now and again. I just put it in the microwave. I said, okay. I said, well, go get a tea kettle and this will be really good for you. I don't know why. So she doesn't go do it. She books another reading with me. I said, oh, did you get your tea kettle? She said, no, I didn't get it. I said, oh, well, go get your tea kettle. 3 times I had to tell her to go get this tea kettle in 3 separate readings. Months had gone by. Finally, she goes to get the tea kettle, and then right after that, she got a boyfriend.
Oh wow.
and I have no idea why the tea kettle thing needed to happen. But the only thing I can say is that what you think is not relevant tends to be on a spiritual level. This is forgive the biblical reference, but it says his ways are higher than our ways, and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts, right? And so, like when we go into spirit, sometimes what's spiritually linking up might be totally weird than what we think the natural has to offer. Why would a tea kettle get me a boyfriend? He might like tea. I don't know.
Wow.
So pulling a card, finding out where I can integrate this insight into my journey, into my life, into my experience. I just use the example of the three of pentacles. And it talks about getting more definite, setting a list, making a plan. Maybe you need to make a plan today. Maybe you start working with lists. Maybe you do to-do lists to get all the stuff out so you can get your head, get everything out of your head. I don't know. But whatever comes up, comes out, and use that. That's my answer.
Yesterday I got a kind of a bad card. Because the top is a little bit different. I can't remember which one it was, but it was something like failure or disappointment. And I was like, nah. Because I was giving a presentation last night and I just thought I'm on such a high right now, so I'm not going to have that card. And then I'm actually choosing my cards now with a pendulum because I'm kind of like combining. I'm going over the cards and seeing go. And then I just kind of like chose a few more cards, and then it got onto the Fool yesterday, like a new beginning. So yesterday I gave a
Yes.
presentation in a private members club. I got a lot of leads for new collaborations. I had it all over a very good day. So I kind of feel good about rejecting that. I can't remember which one it was, but it was like, nah. I was like, nah, no, I'm not having failure today.
I
I don't
would
accept.
love to know the card. I would love to know the card. And let me tell you why this might be relevant. Because whatever comes up comes out. So we get that.
Mm.
But sometimes in those moments, you mentioned about a presentation or something, sometimes what spirit is offering you is something that might hit somebody else in your audience or somebody that you're communicating with or whatever, whatever. So if you could find the card, let me know and hold it up because I would love to see it.
Because it was
But
failure on the top deck. I'll just find out what that is. Um,
mhm,
because that has a
yeah.
different thing. So let's see what failure was. Seven of
Now
discs.
you're working with the thought. You're working with the thought deck. That is a powerful deck.
Well, that's why I wanted to
Uh,
leave it because I just love the drawing things and also because Aleister Crowley was kind of very significant in Western sex magic, even though he's a questionable person. But I just think I wanted that
yeah.
deck, for because I know it's because sex magic changed my
No,
life. It's a very powerful thing, and every time I do something related to sex magic, everything flows. When I write, I got a book deal with
yes.
a very big publisher. I give workshops. Everyone, it's just like easy. So I love it.
No,
Yeah.
no, you're spot on. You're spot on. And so the deck is very powerful. Deck magic is something that you can totally integrate into your life. If you with a partner or without a partner, you can still
Without
use
doing it
text
alone.
magic. And yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. And use that Kundalini energy, use that power, use that orgasmic lifestyle energy, use that energy, right, in order to like create for yourself, because that's really what it's for. It's creative energy. So you could totally use that. But yeah, so when you pull those kinds of cards and you're like, oh, I want to throw that away, right? Usually it's something that you could integrate into your awareness, integrate into your moment. And if you work with it just in consciousness, right? Something might connect later on down the road or in that presentation or whatever, whatever. And it might not be failure for you. It could be somebody else is dealing with some kind of failures. Somebody else is dealing with some kind of losses. Somebody else is dealing with some kind of grief. And just by touching on that, you might be able to speak to that person's experience a little bit more clearly. And they'd be like, oh my God, I feel like you were speaking right to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
seven of Pentacles. So it's seven of Pentacles. Yeah.
Never been goes upright or reversed.
Upright. I only do upright because I can see the crosses on the back. So don't do.
Okay, no, I totally get it. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're working with the dog. Yes. So Seven of Pentacles does talk about failure, but get this. It talks about think about like a seed, right? And
Take a
it
long
talks about
time.
like a seed dying. Yeah. It talks about like a seed dying in order for the actual fruit to bear,
Uh,
right? And so where failure might come in is that yeah, it takes you getting rid of that Jack and the Beanstalk, getting rid of that seed, selling the cow, and then Jack sold the cow. Mama was mad because he sold the cow for some beans, and
okay.
the beans got him to the golden goose, right? And so that Seven of Pentacles kind of says, okay, this might feel like a failure, or it might feel like you were in a failure space for a while, but just keep looking around, keep seeing where this is, because there's a beanstalk somewhere for you. There's some growth, there's some harvest, there's something that you kind of waiting to bloom and blossom. And that Seven of Pentacles will tell you more like, okay, I can feel where I'm blossoming now. I can feel that I went through some failure, and now the harvest is time. It's time to
I,
harvest it.
I rejected it and just got the Fool instead. And I love that card. It's just like the new beginnings and stuff.
Yes. Oh, the fool is amazing. Yeah, the very first card of the zodiac, the fool. Yeah.
I recently got a I'm into crystals as well. I recently got a meteorite. So every night before I go to bed, I put this meteorite on my third eye and I listen to this psychic ability activation binaural beat. And I'm telling you, I have the weirdest dreams. It's so
Are
crazy.
you?
We
Wow.
connected for some reason. So
This
I
is
am
awesome.
I'm really becoming witchier and witchier. I'm really tapping into Because my family's Irish, but before Christianity got to Ireland, it was a very witchy place, and I'm started to
Celtic, yeah.
observe the lunar cycles. This podcast I publish on new moon and full moon, and I do crystals. I'm into sigils, things like that. So I have a few sigils lying around.
Oh, you,
Yeah.
you're 100. Yes, you're 100% speaking my language. So now sigil magic, for those of you, because she just threw out a lot there. For those of you who are listening, sigil magic is very, very powerful because what sigils is a whole spell, a whole incantation, a whole working. I call it workings. A sigil is a whole working compressed into this one piece, right? This one image, this one piece of material, whatever you're working with, right? It could be metal, it could be whatever, wood. And so you compress it into this one piece and you can carry it with you. You can put it around your house like she does. If she got a partner, you can put it under their side of the bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I use it. I look at them when I'm having an orgasm. I just like look at them during orgasm and just like then I get rid of them.
Yes, you fill them up. You fill them with that energy. Absolutely. So what you do is you take a sigil and you can conjure it if you want to just kind of bring it in your own imagination, or you can bring it from whatever study or whatever you're researching. But you take that sigil and you work that sigil because it contains a full working in that one image. They're so powerful. I just drew a sigil for a client working with Saint Expedite, and she already is starting to see very, very fast results with her business. Fantastic stuff. Sigil magic is very strong.
So I tend to usually on a new moon, I make 3 sigils with 3 things I want to bring into my life. And I do with the writing the sentence, the affirmation, and then just like making, this kind of pattern. And then I don't remember what they are. So when I use this, I have no idea. So that's kind of like working with the subconscious. And I find that really interesting because I'm writing a book now called Orgasmic Manifestation. So there is a chapter on sigils. So it has changed my life because let's say 6 years ago, I had no pillows. Imagine like a really sore neck. And I had no sofa, but I'm a sex toy reviewer and designer. So I had 300 sex toys, but no pillow and no sofa. So I thought something's got to change. And I discovered Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. And that was it for me. I just discovered the power, because I'm a sexpert. So I was thinking, why am I focusing on pleasure when sex is power? So I wanted to tap into that higher realm of sexual energy and how it can influence my life. So it's been a journey where I'm becoming witchier and witchier all as time goes by. And I really want trying to develop my own psychic abilities now. But I wonder, I think some things would freak me out. Like I'm more clairsentient. Like being a clairvoyant would be very freaky, I think, or spirits or things like that. But I do get a lot of downloads. But sometimes I can be very naive with people as well. So it's something that it's more of a feeling kind of vibe rather than a seeing one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say for me, when I have those awarenesses, I always, first of all, I acknowledge, like, oh, thank you for it. Like, I got it. I got the awareness. And then depending on who it's for, or if you're offering it to somebody, it might not be, but if you're offering it to somebody, I would say, hey, listen, this is what's coming up. Whatever comes up, comes out. But this is what, Spirit is telling me to tell you. Or, yeah, you can just kind of throw it out that way. But all in all, the more witchier, I love how you said that, witchier. The more witchier you get, the more I believe that this whole world of abilities and awarenesses start to kind of come up for you. And so continue on your journey. It's a really, really magical, no pun intended, magical journey. So yeah.
So what's the book that changed your life?
Oh, yes. The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav.
Okay. Is that related to psychic?
No, actually, it's more of a spiritual, like self-help, metaphysical book or whatever. But he talks about the difference between authentic power and external power. And that one tidbit really kind of changed my life because I realized that a lot of us kind of seek external power, external protection, external validation for who we are, where we are, whatever. But then what we were really wanting and what we really tap into is that authentic power was kind of innate and natural for you. What I'll say is that when he talks about the 5 sensory modality of life living versus the multi-sensory. And so I realized that I never really was down with the whole five senses: sight, touch, taste, smell, sound. I was never really big on the five sensory modality. I was more multi-sensory, and the multi-sensory person that I am, the multifaceted being. That's what I always connected with, and it made sense to me when I totally read that book, The Seed of the Soul by Karen
Okay.
Zukav. Amazing book.
Amazing. And then what was the phrase or affirmation that you live by?
So I have what's called my rules of acquisition. So I have like 111 of those. But the one that probably stands out to me the most is trust but verify.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Great tip. Where can people find you?
Oh, perfect. So Facebook is I'm really big on Facebook. Quenton Stroud, Quenton J Stroud on Facebook, the Master Oracle, Quenton,
Mhm.
Quenton. And then you could also find me on Instagram at the Master Oracle, all spelled out, the Master Oracle on Instagram.
Wow. So thank you so much for joining us today on the orgasmic lifestyle. It's been very insightful. We've enjoyed it so
Thank
much.
you. Yes, yes, we're gonna talk soon. We're definitely gonna talk soon.
The book I'm reading now is Women Who Run with the Wolves, Contacting the Power of the Wild Woman by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I'm reading this book because two of my past guests, Kiana Reeves and Tova Lee, both mentioned this book as the book that changed their lives. And as they are two women that I admire a lot, I was very curious about this book. And one of my friends actually gifted me this book for Christmas. And yeah, I was thrilled to get it. But when I saw it, it was 400 and something pages. So it was a little bit intimidating because imagine now that I'm making more episodes, I'm uploading more frequently now on this podcast. That means I have to read 3 books a month to keep up with these book sections, which are not exactly reviews. It's more about the book I'm reading now, which I don't have to have completed the book when I make this segment. And so that's why I'm reading it. I'm also interested in anything that's to do with, anything that can be potentially life-changing. And I'm also interested in topics that touch on gender and femininity, especially. So when I saw this book, 400 pages, I was thinking, oh my God. And I started reading it and it seemed a little bit dense. And I was wondering if it's all hype because it didn't draw me in from the beginning. It wasn't an easy first 50 pages. I mean, other books that I've read do tend to grab me a bit sooner. But once I've made it to, let's say, page 50, I was so glad that I persevered. I'm a very perseverant person anyway, but and also the fact that it was a gift makes me definitely going to honor that gift. And the fact that it's been quoted as being a life-changing book for so many people definitely inspired me to continue. And I'm so glad I did. And from what I can see so far now, I'm on page 80, 85. It is about, there are short stories and myths that guide women on a transformative journey to reclaim their innate wisdom and strength. So there are short stories which are very entertaining and absorbing, almost like fairy tales or fables, a lesson to be learned in them. And then there's a big analysis of the story. And these stories are kind of like, they symbolize messages that we receive as women about our intuition, about predators, and about different parts of our growth cycles, such as life, death, and rebirth. So yeah, I'm finding it very entertaining at the moment, and it's a nice companion to have in the morning while I drink my coffee. And I'm very excited to discover the next 300 and something pages. And also I interviewed someone yesterday who said it was also the book that changed their lives. So 3 people that I admire a lot who are guests on this podcast have said that. I'm going to read a little bit from the blurb. Women Who Run with the Wolves is a seminal work on the inner life of women. A creation of poetry and power, it began a revolution and continues to transform the lives of millions around the world. Clarissa Pinkola Estes reveals how within every woman there lives a wild woman, filled with passionate creativity and ageless knowing, but repressed for centuries by a value system that trivializes emotional truth, intuitive wisdom, and instinctual self-confidence. Dr. Estes's enriching bestseller shows how, through the interpretation of story and her psychological commentary, we can reclaim and rejoice in our true feminine power, how we can awaken within the depths of our souls one who is both magic and medicine. So intriguing. So I'm just at the beginning of this journey. I potentially might make another segment about it as I advance in my reading, because I think there is a lot to learn in these pages. I've just touched on the first 3 stories at the moment about intuition and predators, and I feel it's just it's a nice form of escapism, these mythical stories, for sure. So that is the book that I'm reading now, which is Women Who Run with the Wolves: Contacting the Power of the Wild Woman by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Now it's time to slow things down as we prepare for this episode's guided affirmations meditation. It's probably not a good idea to listen to this while driving or operating machinery. Instead, take a break from whatever you're doing, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and enjoy. I trust my inner guidance. I find answers within. I trust in my inner wisdom to guide me on my path. I am open to receiving clear guidance from the universe. Every decision I make leads me closer to my highest good. I am guided by love, wisdom, and intuition in all that I do. I release control and follow the signs. I trust my inner guidance. I find answers within. I trust that the universe is conspiring in my favor. I am aligned with my purpose and guided towards my goals. I release the need for control. I am connected to the infinite wisdom of the universe. I release control and follow the signs. I trust my inner guidance. I find answers within. I receive clear direction from the universe. My decisions lead me to my best path. Love and intuition guide me. The universe supports me. I release control and follow the signs. I trust my inner guidance. I find answers within. I follow my purpose with clarity. I surrender to divine guidance. I tap into universal wisdom. I trust my feelings. I release control and follow the signs. I trust my inner guidance. I find answers within. Clarity flows effortlessly to me. My choices align with my Do you want to upgrade your life? If so, check out my free meditation, my Life Upgrade Meditation. This meditation is very powerful. It contains 100 very powerful affirmations that correspond to the 12 areas of life from the Wheel of Life. And those areas include things like money, professional career, friends, family, relationships, sexuality, personal development, contribution to society, home environment, and much more. If you're curious about this very powerful transformative meditation, then check out the link in the show notes. And if you haven't got the show notes at hand, then the link is bit.ly/life, capital LIFE, hyphen, capital UPGRADE, upgrade, hyphen, meditation with a capital M. The link is also in the show notes. So if you would like to upgrade your life, check out my free Life Upgrade Meditation. To find out more about me and my orgasmic lifestyle, visit venusohara.org or follow me on Instagram at instagram.com/venusohara. Make sure to search for the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening, have an orgasmic week, and make sure every day is a climax.